Today I asked you to list down some different styles and types of herbs that we use in culinary. What did we come up with? Yeah.
I have cilantro, tea, mint, garlic, celery, and oregano.
Good. Oregano, mint, I don't remember it. Garlic, tea. What else?
Parsley.
Parsley. What else?
Rosemary.
Thyme, mint, rosemary. What else?
Basil.
Basil, thyme,
Chives.
chives. Anything else? Cumin, coriander, fennel, lavender, clovers. It's called cloves, yes. Ginger, lemongrass. Okay, and herbs usually grow wild out. I mean, we cultivate them, but they still grow wild out in fields, and then we're using them for fresh herbs, or they dry them out for dry herbs. A lot of the things we use in cooking, you can use also in your hair products. All right, body washes, body soap, soap, pillows, fabric softeners. I know I've seen lavender everything these days. Okay, well, I used to do a competition, and the gentleman there made lavender ice cream. Okay, it actually was really good. It was purple in color. But at the same time, I've seen lavender fabric softener, okay, or lavender candles. Lemongrass grows like grass, right? Great stuff to use. Anybody have lemongrass here? Anybody have lemongrass? No? Okay. Might be something you want to try. The next question I asked you was, how do fresh herbs differ from dried herbs? Walker, you writing this down? Watch the board, I ain't gonna help you with it. How do fresh herbs differ than those of dried ones?
Fresh ones have like a more powerful taste to them.
Very good. Fresh ones have a more pungent, powerful flavor than dried herbs. Okay? When you dry the herb out, you are taking away its aroma, so should we say. All right? The fresh herbs have a more, obviously, fresh taste and more emphasis on the flavor. Also, the thing about fresh and dried herbs is a lot of people sometimes want to see the herbs in their food. Who's made guacamole here? From scratch. How do you make guacamole?
Avocado.
What else?
Onions. Tomatoes.
Cilantro?
Yes.
Fresh cilantro?
Yes.
Okay, onion. Salt. Maybe a little lime juice.
There we go.
Okay, there you go. Guacamole. Smashed up avocados and a bunch of veg. But everything in that dish is fresh. I know there's some restaurants that even make it right there in front of you at the table. What did he do? Okay? But sometimes he calls for dried herbs. I think some of you, when you made your pizza, I saw you looking for oregano. Or a lot of pizza places, you go out to eat. What's on the table? Parmesan cheese, crushed red pepper, and oregano. Garlic powder. Okay, so sometimes there's a need for dry herbs. Sometimes there's a need for fresh herbs. Has anybody used them before to cook a dish? What was the dish? What herb did you use? Pizza and oregano. Okay. What else? Anybody else cook something and use fresh herbs? Anybody make tea? Like mint tea. If you grow herbs at home, like in a windowsill, or you have a garden, you could take spearmint or mint. Just take some mint, throw it in some water, boiling water, add a little sugar, boil it, turn it off, put it in a pitcher, let it sit overnight, strain out the mint leaves, and you got mint flavored tea. Or water, but it's tea. Have you ever seen a tea bag? If you look inside of tea bags, what's inside of tea bags? A bunch of everything, depending on the flavor, right? But they're little what? Dried herbs or orange peel or whatever the flavor of the tea is, cinnamon, chai, poppy seed, whatever. So what does a tea bag do? Well, it holds all the herbs inside the bag. You put it in hot water. All of a sudden your water turns a different color. You take the tea bag out and you're left with the flavor of the herbs. Okay? Who's had black tea, green tea, jasmine tea? Tea are herbs and flavoring that are dried out that you are reconstituting using hot water. That's all it is. Okay? Think about it that way. All right. So make sure you have this written down because I will check it at the end of class. Monday of last week, I asked you to write down 11 different styles of knife cuts with the sub.
We gave her the paper. That's
know.
okay. That's what I was gonna say.
I got you. So now I'm going to go over them since you already wrote them down and you should be fine experts at them. Okay? And then you're going to do a lab. And when you do that lab, I'm going to come around and grade your knife cuts. That's going to be a lab grade. And I want to see, I'm going to give you rulers. I'm going to give you special instruments that help you show what the correct sizes are for certain vegetables. And I want to see how close we can get to that. Okay? Knife cuts is very important when you want to call yourself a chef or you want to be in the restaurant business. You don't know how to do knife cuts because we use knives all the time to do things. All right? So how do you hold the knife? And I've already gone over the parts of the knife with you guys, right? Well, you hold the knife in your dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, you better hold the knife in your right hand. And if you're left-handed, it better go in your left hand. So when you hold the knife in your dominant hand, what goes on your opposite hand? Cut glove. Very good. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to hold the knife in my right hand. Okay? The left hand is going to be a guiding in my hand that I'm going to use with a cut glove. Okay? Now this right here is a knife, and how does a knife work? Who controls the knife? You. This has no mind of its own. It has no machine. There's nothing powering it other than your brain and your hand. You control what you do with this tool. And it's a tool. It's not a weapon. Okay? So, how do we use it? Now there's two different ways to grip the knife. First one is handle grip. So you take your hand, you completely encompass the grip on the knife, and now you're holding the entire handle part or grip part of the knife. You can see here's the grip. Okay? Why are you on the phone in class? Hey, why are you on the phone in class? Thank you, please. Tie your hand on the grip of the knife. Second way to do it is to choke up on the knife and actually hold the knife part and the handle together. I prefer this better. Take your index finger and your thumb. Index finger on one side of the knife, thumb on the other side of the knife, remaining 3 fingers, wrap around the knife. So I'm choking up on the knife maybe about 1.5 inches on the bottom, and I'm about 1.5 inches on the top. I have complete control over this knife now. Okay, for me it's more comfortable to hold it this way. Index finger, thumb, don't put it on the bottom, you know, obviously, and then take your other 3 fingers and wrap it around. Okay? A lot of students I see last year when I did this with 1s or 2s, they like to put their finger on top like this. How many of you guys do this? It's okay. I know, I see it because you feel like you have more control, so you cut like this. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that, but as you perfect this and if you want to get faster and more efficient, this way is going to not help you to do that. Okay? A lot of students do it because it's comfortable and that's just the way they've been doing it. But you're better off putting this index finger instead of on the top of the blade to the side of the blade and your thumb. Now I can hold this knife like this. And then these other 3 fingers are just supporting it. Okay? The knife always goes on the cutting board, right? Correct? It should never come off the cutting board. If you see someone chopping like this, they're doing something wrong. Okay? When you use a knife and you cut, it's a rocking motion, like you're in a boat in the ocean and the waves push you, like if you were just to drop anchor and sit, and you rock back and forth. Well, the same thing with the knife, okay? No one should be doing this, you know, Halloween 4 in your kitchen, okay? All right? This can be used correctly, and that is its intended purpose. So, your guiding hand, what should be the hand that you don't hold the knife with, is what you use to help prevent the knife from slipping and also to help control the size of the cut. How do you do that? You need to keep your 4 fingers on this side of the knife and your thumb is somewhere back here. Okay, your thumb is down here somewhere. Out of the way. I see some students, they cut and their thumb's out like this. Well, if the knife slips, what happens to your thumb? It's going to slip and injure yourself and cut yourself. So tuck your thumb either in or in the back, away from the rest of the potential hazards. Now you just have your forefingers, and you can make like a claw. Okay, they say make a claw, we call it a claw, and that way you can hopefully not cut any of your fingers. And I'll show you this, I'll demonstrate it, I'll bring the camera down, you can get close up and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, but the knife that's holding the hand, there's no way you can cut those fingers, right? So you're only really worrying about one hand, because the other one's holding it. And if you tuck your thumb away, you've now eliminated that problem. So you're really only having to worry about 4 fingers. And if you can make the claw, there should be no accidents that happen. Right? Hold your thumb back, already talked about, and bend your fingers inward. There's 11 types of cuts, which you should have written down last week. 11. What's important here is take time. Take your time when you're using a knife. What's the hurry? What's the rush? I can go really quickly. I've been cutting for 15 years. Okay? I can cut very fast. Okay? And even now and then, you nick yourself here and there. But for students and individuals who are just learning about culinary, what's the hurry? What are you late for a race? No, take your time, because when you rush, accidents happen. Okay? Use the cutting boards. Now that brings me to this question. We got different colored cutting boards. We got green, red, yellow, white, blue, and purple. So, what are they used for? Good. So what is green used for, food-wise? Veggies and fruits. Very good. How about a red cutting board?
Meat.
A little more specific.
Red meat.
Very good. Red meat. Okay, red meat. You'll see the correlation here, hopefully. Yellow cutting board. Poultry.
Oh, good job, girl. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you work at BDQ too.
I don't even think we have yellow cutting boards there.
Poultry, duck, chicken, turkey, I don't know, Cornish hen, whatever thing that used to fly, it doesn't fly, looks like a bird, it should be on a yellow cutting board, okay? White cutting boards.
Fish.
No.
Okay.
Isn't that vegetable?
Chicken's poultry.
Cheese.
Cheese and, might want to write these down, just, you might see them again. Like identify which goes to which. Cheese and
What, is it light cheese?
bread. Cheese and bread. Why? Because bread's already cooked. You're not going to cross-contaminate anything. And cheese you cannot really can sit out at room temperature. Okay? How about blue? Huh? Very good. Fish and seafood.
Ooh,
But they're not blue.
they live in a blue. Yeah.
And purple? I don't think you'll get it, but I'll help you out.
Oh, you did something.
Okay? And what, 17 years I've been doing this, I've only worked one place that had a purple cutting. Okay? No, it's just not very common. But when you look at these types of cutting boards, there's a reason why we have them, and that's to prevent what? Thank you, cross-contamination. So when you think about fruits and vegetables, you think green, right? So that's how you get to the green. Red meat, obviously, is a red cutting board. Poultry, yellow. Cheese and bread is white. Seafood and fish, I heard someone say it. Where does seafood and fish come from?
The ocean.
And is the ocean blue?
Correct.
It's not. It gives off that shimmer, though, that it is. But let's just go play along with it. It is blue, so that's why it's seafood and fish. Okay? Actually, it's not blue. It's just the reflection of the sky. And purple for allergies. Okay? So you'll see some questions on the test, maybe that ask you to please match up the color of the cutting board to the item it is used. Here at school, we have red, yellow, green, and white. We don't do shellfish and fish, and I don't have a purple cutting board. I can buy one just if you really want to see it. They're like 10 bucks. So we won't use it. But when you get out in the industry, you guys have color cutting boards at PDQ?
Yes.
Okay.
We have that.
Not yellow.
They're used, just to help prevent cross-contamination. So if I see you cutting on a knife cutting day or a lab, I don't want to see vegetables on a red cutting board. I don't want to see red meat on a yellow cutting board or a white cutting board, especially the white ones, because the white ones you can bleach. Okay? And we used to bleach the cutting boards because that really got everything out. Alright. Alright, so now that we've established the cutting boards, let's look at the knife cuts. Everybody have that? Okay, your first cut I asked you to write down last week is called a large dice. Large dice is 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. Okay? If you can't remember that, there's an easy way to remember it. 3/4 inch, 3 times. Medium dice is just basically a smaller version of a large dice, and that's 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. But the question is, how do you get the carrot to be that square? Because carrots don't come like that. Carrots come rounded, no? Right?
Right.
So you peel the carrot, and then you need to cut off the ends and the sides to take that vegetable that's no longer that's not a square, that's round. You need to turn it into a square, so you have to trim off the sides to get it. And I'll show you how to do it on a carrot. I'll show you how to do it on a potato. Okay, those are probably the 2 easiest vegetables to practice your knife skills on. Okay, after your medium dice, you have a small dice, which is 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. So on your exam next week, I'm going to give you the 11 different knife styles, and I'm going to give you 11 different definitions, and you're going to have to match them up. Okay? You're going to match the knife cuts to the measurements or the description. And the last one that is very, very small, and it's a French term because the French are, heavily influenced in our lives. It's called brunoise. So, how do I put this as to how small it really is? And I'll pass these around for you guys. Okay, these are knife guiding tools. Okay, on them are different types of cuts. Okay, when you look at these, look all the way. You have large dice, medium dice. It says it really on here. Small dice, brunoise, and fine brunoise. Okay, and I will pass these around. You can see the progression of how small it gets from how large a large dice is to almost how small, where you almost need a microscope to see what you're doing. Okay? Very, very careful.
Have you done that?
Yeah,
Really?
it's really small.
What do you cut like that?
How or what? No, you use a knife.
No. What do you cut? What is that?
Oh, we used to just make stuff that small for garnishes. If you want something really, really tiny, just a little hint of it, and you don't want it to be overpowering, or you don't want it to dominate the dish, it's really, really small. Okay, pass those around. Maybe, start one on that side. Okay, so this is where I wanted you to lead from. In order to get those cuts about small, medium, and large, you have to get these 2 cuts first. The one on the left is called bâtonnet. Yay, with French. Bâtonnet. So, if you have a bâtonnet cut, and it's this, what can I turn this cut into? What can I make this cut into?
The eighth. No.
The eighth. What was 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch? Small dice. So I can take this cut, which is 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch by 2 inches, a long strip, and I can turn them into little cuts or small dice. Now, if I have a julienne, which is 1/8 of an eighth by 2, what can I turn this cut into? Huh?
Of the fine.
What's the fine one? I don't
Fine
know.
brunoise.
Brunoise. Very good. You can take this cut, and I can make little small ones out of this. Okay? And this is the idea that you have to get this cut into strips. Then you turn it horizontally, and you just go straight down. And I'll show you how to do a large dice, medium dice, small dice, brunoise. Okay, I'll make it look easy, but that's because I've been doing it for a while. Okay, but you guys will get it. Hopefully. Okay. All right. What are the other ones we have to go over?
Wait,
I don't remember.
find Juliet.
Rondel.
Rondo.
Rondel.
Yeah,
What's a rondel? Well, we call them carrot coins or coins because they're circles and they're 1/4 of an inch sticks. Okay.
Is this a rondel?
Which one?
Wait.
It's a smaller rondel. How do I tell you how to remember it? It's a 1/4. It's a 1/4, but it's a little bit, you know, almost on the same level of a 1/4. What's that? Yes. Rondel, 1/4 inch thick slices. The next one is diagonal. Pretty sure we can all figure this one out. It's a 1/4 of an inch thick oval slices. All you do, turn the carrot on an angle, turn your knife on an angle, go straight down, and you'll come out with a diagonal cut. The last one over there on the right side of the board is called paysan. Ah, we love the French.
Definitely. It's a French
Small dice.
It is a small dice, very good, but it is thinner. So it's a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch by 1/8 of an inch. Okay? It's like a square, but it's thinner. Like you said, it's like a small dice, but thinner. I would say personally, the rondel and the diagonal are probably the 2 easiest cuts you'll do. Why are these 2 easier than the rest of them?
Because like, you don't have to worry about like cutting the side.
Very good. You don't have to square up the carrot. You can leave the carrot in its natural shape and make circles and then turn it on an angle and make your diagonal cut.
We all get to put our own carrot.
You all get to cut your own carrot, your own potato.
Yeah.
And then leave it on your cutting board and I will come and look at it and give you a grade.
Can I do I really have to cut it?
Get the what?
Do I really have to cut it?
See,
That's why I'm teaching you knife
you
cuts.
gotta prove yourself.
You have to put your knowledge into practical use.
Chicken cutting skills.
Do you do knife cuts at PDQ?
I have.
Ah, so you should excel greatly.
Oh, you already know how to do it.
Yeah.
Keep you away from the knife.
Because I want to
All right, what's next?
Stop shaking your leg.
Tournay and chiffon.
Chiffon.
Stop shaking your leg.
Chiffon day. No. Close, close. What is that? It's chiffonade. Chiffonade. Ah, a lot of French here. Okay, chiffonade is vegetables. I don't like when they say vegetables. It is vegetables or herbs that you stack in a tower and then you roll them up and you cut them into long strips. Basically about 1/8 of an inch wide. So how can I better show you this? Let's say we had basil. Okay, we have basil leaves. You're gonna stack the basil leaves up. And you're gonna roll them up until you have something that looks like a log, and then you're gonna chiffonade it.
Oh, damn, I just got a video.
Okay? And then after you chiffonade it, you're gonna be left with something that looks like this, and you can just break it up with your fingers.
So that doesn't really have a size.
Okay, right there.
Huh? Hey, when you go for your masters, you come call me.
So like, you don't have really a specific size to do that.
The chiffonade?
Yeah.
Hey, you want 1/8 of an inch wide? I'll show you. I'll bring some basil in and I'll show you how to stack it up. And you roll it up and you go fast.
Oh, yeah, they do that. Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, just like that. And then the last one, which I will not make you do because I remember doing these and it was a pain in the butt, and that is called a tournay. What is a tournay? It's a 7-sided shape football. Oval shape.
Balls are smooth.
It's this, but it's well, it's in the oval shape of football. But it has 7 sides. And if you remember when I showed you the different styles of knives, was there a tournay knife? Yes? What did it look like? Does anybody remember? Had like a little bird's beak at the end of it. It was curved at the top. That curvature on the top of that knife is what helps you to excel into making this type of cut.
What is that?
2 inches long, 7 sides, all equal, 3/4 inch in diameter.
What do you cut like that?
If you want to try to do this, I'll give you extra credit if you can nail it.
What?
Okay? I'll give anybody extra credit
Cook eggs.
who can try to nail that. Okay?
You got
On knife day, if you think you want to attempt to try to do a tornado, I'll show you one. And then if you think you can replicate it,
Can I use the restroom?
you may go ahead. She's out. She comes back. Huh?
I think she can get it.
No, I have a question.
I'm calling on you.
But like, is it gonna count against us if we don't
No.
get it? Okay, then I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna
What
do
do you
it.
cut?
I'm gonna do it too.
So again, with this type of cut, you need to start with
That sounds like a knife. You know, like a
you need a rectangle. And then from that rectangle, you start taking that tourné knife that I showed you, and you basically start peeling back the layers. You hold it in your index finger and your thumb, like this, take your knife here, and you start making a rounded oval shape. The problem is, you'll get like 5 sides, and then you're gonna try to cut one, right? So you can get 2, so you get 7. But you'll screw up and you only get 6. And it's frustrating that 7th side, because it's not an equal number. And that's what makes it difficult. This is an old classical French cut. No one uses them really much anymore. I did them for a couple competitions. And that is the tourné cut. Okay? How many sides are on there?
Listen.
7.
There you go.
I
It's a
wouldn't
lot
see you try to
more.
count it.
Where's the other one? You guys have the other one? Oh, let's see. Yeah, so you can see this is right here. This is it.
I was thinking
You
about
get this
it.
one in, so-
Why don't we just take it and shove it?
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, it likes to think like that, but it doesn't work like that. It's not an apple core.
What, Gavin?
So if you look at these and you pass them around, this is the tourné cut right here. It says tourné, and it does have 7 sides.
So which ones out of those are we gonna have to do?
You're gonna do the large dice, medium dice, small dice, Brunoise,
Brunoise.
Bâtonnet, Julienne, and round cut. And this doesn't have the diagonal cut, but it also has a ruler on it, but I'll show you the diagonal. I'll show you.
We don't have to do triangle.
No. Who the heck cuts vegetables in triangles?
It'll be a lot easy. It'll be easy.
I don't even see kids' meals with triangles.
But it'll be easy to do. I don't want this.
Is it gonna spook you?
No, we already have one.
Are you a little worried about this one?
No.
Anybody has questions or want to take a look at this, please let me know. I have like 6 or 7 of them. I'll give them to you on the day that we do knife cuts as a guide. I also have rulers, and this has a ruler at the top. It also has all the conversions on the back. These are great little cheat sheets if you want to buy one of these. You can just put it in your binder, and then like you have all the answers to everything. But these are great tools. They fit in your pocket too. Just give them a heads up.
If you're still not taking this, it's gonna hurt.
No, I'm telling you, you can purchase one, and they're very useful tools.
How much are they?
$6, $7.
Oh, John.
That's too much.
And they make big ones that like fit inside your binder, like full size, that go in the 3 ring, 3 things. And it
Oh,
just
Chef
flips.
Tucker, you shouldn't even said
Okay.
that because I want you to.
Does anybody have any questions as in regards to the 11 styles of knife cuts, how to hold a knife, what the handle grip is, the knife grip, or your guiding hand?
Why would you just say that?
We have cuts like that.
Like, you'll get the.
You will work, yeah, you definitely will work cut gloves, absolutely. I don't have an opinion.
I don't need that.
Questions?
Yeah, you do.
Good. So on Friday next week, again, you'll have these 11 cuts to match to their measurements.
Imagine when he gets back.
Okay? Yes. You will also need to know, like I said, your conversions, your measurements, Mr. G, and how to do things. So, I advise you to study because I believe it was this last, when I gave you an equipment test, a lot of you did not pass. So I'm not quite sure if you don't study your notes, how you're planning on passing this one. And this one I probably will not change. Last one I was nice enough to change it from a test to a quiz. So not all of you are failing, just some of you. Questions? Okay, I'm going to be around to check your bell work, bell ringers, whatever you want to call them. So please have them out for me. Thank you.
Oh, you're a clown.
Bell work, bell work, bell work. I'm looking for it.
You stop.
does.
I do. Just the